BYD is attacking the European market, especially now the German market. And with this vehicle here, the BYD Seal 6 Touring, they want to take the Germans by their needs to have an estate and with a high or long range, 1,500 kilometers, like over 900 miles promised. Is that true with this very engine concept? We're going to find out, and if they can succeed in Germany with Thomas Nautigefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the BYD Seal 6 Touring. In this case, the front round, aerodynamically optimized. Here the daytime running light, also interesting indicator signature, for example. Blue color fitting to the whole C something naming schedule with them. 17 or 18-inch wheels, these are the bigger ones, also in the black styling here than in this case. I think it fits very well. And you can see here, this is the estate, the touring form. There is also a sedan available in some markets, but Germany is more like the combi nation. Combi we say for estate, and that's why they are also hitting the market here with the touring. And DMI is the engine concept, so this has a battery and it also has an engine as range extender. Soon more to that. First of all, rear design, light strip goes all the way through, pretty modern. This is the button I can soon press here to open the rear hatch to have the true combi experience. DMI, we see the badge right here. And let's talk more about that when we go back to the engine compartment actually. Side profile, by the way, 4 meters 84, 191 inches. So it has a significant length already. That's very interesting. And I rather see it not specifically as an electric vehicle market competitor, but rather, for example, a competitor to a Skoda Octavia Combi or to a VW Passat Combi, which is really popular, of course, in the German market and the typical cars for long haul as well. And here we go. This is a 1.5 liter petrol engine. Very interesting. And in most cases, this will only run as a generator. There are two versions available, either with a 10 kilowatt hour LFP battery, or in this case here, the bigger one, 19 kilowatt hour LFP. It's also the the more comfortable version, basically has the bigger wheels, for example. And this is then the combination, so they have the range with the electric battery, depending on the consumption. We do a concise test. And then you also have a 65 liter fuel tank, where this one runs as a generator. And overall, they promise about 1,500 kilometers of range. Very interesting concept. And the Chinese manufacturers are also pushing this concept because these vehicles are not hit by the EU tariffs on Chinese EVs. For their pure electric vehicles, they have to pay the extra EU tariffs, but not for this one. And that's why we're soon going to talk about the prices. This one will also be offered at a very attractive price. Also another, advantage they have then here. Here is also nicely covered, so that also stays silent on the motorway and so on. I'm really excited how much fuel we will consume, and also how high will be the electric consumption. This is, of course, another very important aspect. It's always front-wheel drive, by the way. 8.5 seconds for this version, 8.9 would be for the one with smaller battery. The fuel tank is always the same size, and it's also very interesting. There is a case where the engine is also directly connected to the wheels, and this is when we really hit the throttle, in this case like on the motorway, and really accelerate out on a longer period of time. When you are in the pure EV mode and hit the throttle at lower speeds, it can be that the car still stays in the EV mode, but experienced both. So it always let's say, it depends, because you can also individualize in the infotainment system at which state you want the battery to keep. Like say, I want my battery to keep at 50%, then the generator will start earlier. So it always depends on the situation and on your driving needs. So on the other hand, there's the fuel filler, and here we have 6.6 kilowatt AC. The small battery version would only have 3.3 kilowatt AC and no DC charging. Here, the 19 kilowatt hour LFP battery also has DC charging, 26 kilowatt only. So it's not optimized for fast charging at all, but it's also not a big battery. It's more the sense of you come home and then you plug it in again. This is the key fob. Now we come to the interior. Here, the door handles. This button you press to open or close. And then the door handles, more classic, come towards you. Very solid door closing sound. Also in the rear and the front, I do prefer it. The panel gaps also look fine. Then inside of the doors, materials here, soft touch on the top part, also really clean design. These are the door hands from the inside. Classic controls also for the window levers and the control of the side mirrors. It's pretty cool. No felt covering here on the inside, but for that price, I think that's in this case okay. Here you have to unlock the fuel tank on the driver's side. And then, interesting with these floor mats, these are like, let's say, all-weather floor mats, but at the same time they're soft. Never seen that actually, so soft touch, but at the same time rugged. Interesting. Steering wheel, this to me a little bit too much high gloss black. However, what I prefer on this steering wheel is that we have real buttons on the steering wheel. That's actually cool. And also animal-free, both steering wheel and seats. And the seats are in a very good quality. It's a perforated high-grade leatherette. It's really soft right here. And you can see also in the lower part, and there is a combination with the seat ventilation. That's cool. It's actually not too expensive. Oh, by the way, have you seen this design here? This design here of the seat is totally BMW 5 Series G30 or G31 with the SensorTech seat, right? It's like same seat design. Very interesting. And then let's get inside with 189 6'2". And the headroom here, there is this panoramic roof. And here the headroom, still okay. Panoramic roof, you can see there's this shade for really hot summer days. And it is not only a fixed glass roof, you can actually also really open that one. And this is also very rare these days. And it's also a very large sunroof, let's say, and with also quite substantial opening. Steering wheel with the manual control up and down. Yeah, this could be a little bit smoother how we could move them. It's a little bit hard right here, gotta say that. Gear selection is here on the right side, like we know, like from Mercedes models, for example. With the pedals here in the front, you gotta say, so this area is quite large here. So if you have large feet, like I do, for me it's sometimes hard to switch between throttle and brake pedal. I get actually stuck here. For me, that is a safety concern. I talked to other guys with smaller feet. Please take a seat, try it out. And they said, for me, it's fine. So it is indeed something, I think they need to take it as a good feedback as well, especially for the European market. There are more people with large feet like I. I have 47.5 in the size. What's the US size? Is it 14? Is it 13? Or was it 11?
I think 11.
11?
11 or 12.
So I think is
Maybe help us.
I think US is, I think like EU is 47.5, and I think US that should be 11, isn't it? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, 14 would be, I think, Michael Jordan, I think. Yeah, but then it's a problem with smaller feet. It is actually not, but they have to consider that, of course, when they adapt the cars to the European market. Sunblind, by the way, is also with a soft cover. We cannot extend that, however, with the light and so on. So the first quality impression is actually pretty good. Yeah, and especially from the seating. The seats themselves, from the comfort, could be a little bit better, like in this lowest area. I think they should be as plush as they are in the top part, also in the lower area. This is the cockpit of the BYD Seal 6. Very interesting that we have two screen sizes. This one here inside is 13-inch. There is also the bigger 15-inch available as well. This one here has all the bells and whistles except the little bit bigger screen, but rest is basically the same. It's a clean atmosphere, definitely. Also nice here, for example, how they use some fabric here, and then there's the indirect ambient lighting. Then again, there's a kind of neoprene kind of texture. Classic glove box right here, and I talked about the seats earlier. Isofix also on the passenger seat, for example. So everything you see and feel from look and feel. Here again, this neotex, like neoprene-like material. Also here, some other manufacturers that are not German premium, I sometimes criticize, oh, like the armrest is not properly attached, but here it's really very well attached. A lot of space here underneath as well. So this is good as for the storage. Cup holders with a 4-point design. They also hold bottles quite tight. Jog wheels, for example, for the driving mode, start-stop. Here you switch between the EV preference and the hybrid preference. Microfiber, like in the Tesla, inductive charging pads, the left side, but also with ventilation and 50 watt. So this is all extremely well executed. You would think that you are in a premium vehicle, but we are not in the premium price segment. That's the thing. How do you feel that's not the case still? There is a distinct artificial chemical smell here when you enter the vehicle. This one has just 1,385 kilometers on the clock, so about one fuel tank. In this case for the vehicle, you got to say that. Maybe it fades away a little bit, but I think this is another aspect they have to work on, because what you see and feel is excellent also here on the dashboard and so on. And yeah, if I need the bigger screen, not necessarily. And then we also have like a smaller digital instrument cluster. What they also have to work on is the software. Early software stages here, they do over-the-air updates. For example, when I switch the driving modes, now, for example, the visualization works fine. I had situations where it didn't work, it just was not visible in that way. And also from the beeping sounds while driving, this is something they have to update then when this car is also a little bit longer here in the market. And they also promise that they will update it with over-the-air updates. Climate unit, so far we could also in some BYD vehicles use easier functions, but here is on the screen actually, either here with a typical clicking, but what's also available with BYD is that you use 3 fingers on the screen and then you can slide up and down and also have the climate control. So this would be the alternative. Gotta say that the AC is often temperature-wise a little bit off. So what we use as 22 degrees Celsius, this climate unit is rather 24, 25, you know, so it's always a little bit colder than it actually is. Yeah, maybe a calibration thing, I don't know. But I think the most impressive thing here is that from the look and feel, it's really premium, but the price is not. I'm sitting relatively high in the vehicle, it's still okay, but you can see here, no? The seating is quite close, it works with the headroom, also visibility, but when I really put my spine up, and you also see here with the seats, I'm quite tall for this vehicle. It's still okay, but you see that me, as my body posture, was not the main target group. And then here, the main infotainment, there you can see that when you access the climate unit, then, for example, you can also activate the seat cooling. Doing that while driving is a little bit complicated, I gotta say though. This is then here the main menu. You also have Apple CarPlay and Auto connection. This is how it looks like then, for example, for the Apple CarPlay. This, once again, the home menu. You can see, yeah, basic settings are here. Then you get to all, like for example, the energy menu. This is very interesting. Here you can tell the car actually that it has to keep a certain percentage of the battery. If you want to keep that to have always the extra boost and so on. Yeah, but it depends on how often you can recharge the car as well. And then you also have an energy consumption meter and so on. Rear seats here, soft touch on the top part. Also then again this neoprene-like structure, pretty cool. Just no covering at the inside of doors, but I think we can live with that at that price. And in this case, ISOFIX here outside could also be just pulled up. And that's nice. And the same high-grade leather quality here on the rear seats. I think just here on the back part, I think there's, you can see the material is good, but the underneath cushioning could be a little bit more foamy underneath, you know what I mean? And then here, you can fold down this, also somewhat like rubber pads adaptive. There's also here a small ski hatch you can pull theoretically. Goes all the way through here, low floor, 2 USB-C chargers. And how much space do I have here? Well, the seat, I cannot put my feet underneath it when the seat is in the lowest position, like I need it for driving. So this needs to be more upright, that tall people with long feet can also put the feet underneath the seat. This is a vehicle that is hating on people with long feet. I know, I get the scheme, So, and then here, the legroom, still some legroom left. Here, you can see, because there's also the battery in the lower floor, makes the floor a little bit higher, then I have this different angle here. Headroom, it still works that way, so it offers enough space also for tall adults, but you can see that the focus of this vehicle is rather the trunk space than the space then here in the rear. And now the trunk, the Kombi Kofferraum is very important for the Germans. 500 liters it is. Here, top cover has no railing on the side. And then here, fits in vertically as well. The width is about, let's see here, 1.40 meters. And then the length is already quite good. We're here at almost 1 meters 10 or 42 inches underneath. There is not so much storage left, just here for the tire repair and so on. Height, very important, 27 inches or 68 centimeters. And we can also remotely unlock the seats. That's also pretty cool. This one here, by the way, the middle head restraint does not seem to go further down. That's interesting. And here, ski hitch is also available, and the full length is almost the full Ruder here. So here we're at like one of these 85, 73 inches. So definitely has enough space. By the way, here this cover, I can also put it in the lower stage here, and then we get even a little bit more height. This one, that would be then 76 centimeters in height. Driving part for the BYD Seal 6 Touring here. The car that BYD wants to push, especially on the German market, as I said. That's why we start with German Autobahn, and we start in the EV mode, so electric only mode. And we do a first acceleration from 65. Let's go. 100, 120, 140, 150. Yeah, that's enough for now. And maybe you realized, even though when we start in the EV mode, as soon as I do the pin down, at least when I continue it through, then it goes to the HEV mode and the generator is also activated. Interesting. Here wind noise is actually quite okay, I would say. There's a lot of rolling noise from underneath. Here now speed 130 kilometers an hour, 140 kilometers an hour, something like that. It's like 70, 80 miles an hour. Do a lane change here at higher speeds. Quite stable. The suspension is, let's say, soft, but not too soft. Good feeling from the steering. What do you say about noise?
A little bit loud.
A little bit loud from your side?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, maybe like here from 130 plus.
Yeah.
And you also heard a system complaining a little bit again, like keep eyes on road and stuff. I already deactivated a lot of the systems, but still, even if you do that, there's a lot of beeping and warnings going on around. Still, it feels, let's say, stable enough on the motor. Oh yeah, it gets really loud though. No, like a 140, something like that. Then it's kind of noisy. Now also the wind noise picking up from here and so on. So suspension and steering wise, I think it's fine. Also for higher motorway speeds. Just then, yeah, the wind noise getting quite loud and at really, really high speeds. See here another lane change, but that's actually fine. And yeah, I've actually quite some fun also steering it around here. It's always cool when the motorways switch here from one to another. That's also a lot of fun. There we go. How do you feel when I'm driving fast? Not so? Okay.
No.
Okay,
Doesn't
get the Leah stamp. Yeah, I think that's the thing when the suspension is a little bit softer.
Very wobbly, yeah.
Yeah. So for me it's still okay, but for Leah probably the suspension should be a little bit stiffer in that case. Yeah, here now you feel it's leaning. So it's definitely set out to be more on the comfortable note than on the sporty driving. Yeah, now you feel it definitely here when you are in the corner. Now also what Leah means, definitely. There we go. Interesting, right? You have like, sometimes like the engine is a little bit delayed, so to speak. Yeah, and it switches between the modes as well, and I can also switch the modes a little bit here. The vehicle is also doing it itself, but you can do like, that's something like a preset, what you prefer. However, still, if you are in EV mode and pin it down, it will still switch then to the HEV mode. So yeah, most of the time probably you just let the vehicle do its thing. At 100 kilometers an hour, we will also want to test the assistance systems. To activate it here, steering wheel, and let's see. Also the active lane keeping assist, how good it is actually. We can also activate here.
Keep eyes on.
No, wait a minute. Now it's on, right?
Yeah.
Now it's on.
Why
Yeah,
is
it was on. I just want to check if it's really on. Let's see now how nervous or not nervous the active lane keeping assist is, keeping the distance to the car in front of us. So far as it's straight, it's actually not too bad. Yeah, keep your hands on the steering wheel, okay. And keep eyes on road. Not sure how you can pick it up on camera, but it's always, yeah, really noticeable. Let's take it that way. Blind spot monitor here. It's a yellow triangle in the side mirrors. That's very well executed. And you also have a very good overview, to the rear window, to the sides and so on. So you have a good feeling of what's going around in the vehicle here. I think here at 100 kilometers an hour, like 60 miles an hour, also the wind noise are fine, right? It's
Yeah.
just like above 130, so it's a German thing, So when you're German, but then again, as we said, the suspension is rather soft, so the vehicle does not tempt you to drive that fast. Let's take it that way. So that's really the thing, So definitely more the focus on being comfortable than feeling sporty. We talked about the interior of the seats here and the back part and the surface. The surface material is really soft, but I think there needs to be a little bit more bolstering, like where you sit on. That's a little bit like in the seat. The bolstering needs to be a little bit softer, and yeah, the ergonomics for tall people are not ideal. Also, in city driving, talk about like the switching of the feet down there and so on. So yeah, some optimization for German tall adults could still be done. However, I think that the comfort focus is fine, definitely, because in most situations it's not primarily about sporty driving, more about having more comfort, and also when you have bad roads and so on. And you have to think about the main Chinese market where the car is coming from. They have lower speeds, a lot of traffic, and then they need more comfort, and here in Germany you tend to drive faster and you kind of need to adapt to it, so maybe a little bit stiffer suspension setup could you make use for a faster motorway ride. The AC unit is often off as for the temperature, so 22 degrees Celsius, like 72 degrees Fahrenheit with AC on, it feels like half of that, in temperature. So you always have to put it warmer than you actually think. I think we had it before in another BYD as well. Not sure how their temperature.
Or in the Tesla.
Yeah, in the Tesla, it's a little bit the same that way. Yeah, so a little bit off as for the temperature calibration. Let's see here now. We can drive a little bit quicker. Yeah, here at 130 kilometers an hour, the wind noise is really, really picking up. There you see that's not primarily tuned for that speed.
But in the city it was very silent.
Yeah, but in city it's very silent. We also do soon another city driving part to give you a little bit more insight on that. Yeah, then there you definitely feel the focus, like city, maybe like going around with the family in city, picking up the kids and so on. Not paying too much money for the car, not driving too fast, rather enjoying a more comfortable suspension than driving super sporty and so on. And for that it's actually fine, Yeah, as long as you're not too tall, because when you put up your spine, then there are of course more ideal cars. Yeah, and of course the aspect about the huge range. Here at the moment, driving electric, so when the battery is still there, I can just float with the battery and save some fuel. And other than that, when the battery is empty, here the bigger battery version, by the way, is also the one with 8.5 seconds in the acceleration figure. So the like top end version of the vehicle. Yeah, you still have this massive range extender range for that. So interesting concept, definitely. I would like to hear your opinion if you would rather pick such a car than a pure electric vehicle. And some city driving. For example, we can also do it all electric. Of course, we can always switch a little bit between the pure EV mode and the HEV mode, where the car then decides for itself. As long as I have enough battery left, I can also push the EV mode, so to speak. And well, in the city traffic, it's silent. The 18-inch wheels are also not uncomfortable at all. Suspension. Yeah, that's the one thing I'm also going to soon talk about. Suspension is tuned on a good average setting, so you get enough comfort also when there are potholes and so on. So I think that's actually quite good. I also have a good steering feel. It's direct, not too heavy, not too light. So that's actually all fine. You already heard a glimpse of what I have to criticize, because I already deactivated a lot of the systems that you also don't get nuts on camera. And the thing is, some things you can put on hotkeys, or you can just, like this speed limit deactivation thing. I think Leah put it here, or here, yeah. Swipe down, then you can click it here, SLW. This is actually fine, easy to deactivate, but you cannot expect from the customer to always deactivate everything. And this keep eyes on the road thing is really, obtrusive. And also like when you have the traffic sign recognition, I've deactivated now, but if you have it activated, it's always like a really, really loud beep every time the traffic sign is recognized, like a new traffic sign.
Deep in the menu here.
Yeah, and it's really, really deep in the menu. Yeah. So, and I'm lucky to have Leah with me, that she can do something, traffic sign recognition there. Turning indicator noise is also a little bit, sounds antique somehow. I would call it that way. Yeah. Listen to some Armin van Buuren, definitely, yeah. And I talked about the seating position here. I also feel when city driving, I'm almost sitting in the ceiling, basically. Knees very high. And also what I talked about in the interior part, when I'm switching here, I think I have to deactivate the turning indicator. I mean, I can't hear it all the time. So when I'm here waiting at a traffic light, and then when I'm soon about to switch again from brake pedal to throttle or back again, I really tend to get stuck with my feet down there somehow, because my feet are just probably too long, too big shoes. And that's actually a really dangerous thing, I feel. So you gotta watch out for that. Gotta have short feet to drive this car properly down there with the space for your feet and so on. Besides that, in the city, it's actually pretty relaxing. I also felt it was quite silent, especially here in city traffic. So, and it doesn't feel too large. I mean, it is not a small vehicle, but it's actually quite easy to handle and to maneuver, and parking in and out and so on. The camera systems are also really sophisticated, so that's then the good thing here about city driving. Very interesting what we see here today. Yes, it has a modern exterior. It's not too daring, but also not too drawn back. You have good space on the interior. Seating positions, both front and rear, were maybe not my favorite one, and I also had some issues like I'm too tall for the seats, my feet are too tall for the pedals and surroundings, so it's not the most ideal car for me as a tall person. But I also asked some others who are a little bit smaller than me to sit inside, and they said, it's no problem. So it really depends on the body posture as well. The quality of the materials and so on is really good. The distinct smell in the interior, this is something I didn't like that much. I think they have to work on that. But the material quality, that one is really, really nice. Also the individual detailing and so on. So it's really astonishing that they can offer this at that price. Soon to the pricing, but first about the range. So we did a test where we just let the petrol engine run, so at 100 to 120 kilometers an hour on the motorway, and we were between 4.5 and 5.5 liters. So, and that is calculated to the 65 liter fuel tank, really something between 1,400 kilometers plus. Really interesting. And then we also had some electric consumption when we only were running on the battery, 13 to 15 kilowatt hours if we are at lower speeds, not too high speeds again. And this also fits again that you can score somewhat 100 kilometers in the city or at lower speeds, even plus with the electric version. So yes, in most situations, of course it depends on the drive profile, you can indeed score this 1,500 kilometer or around 900 miles range with this vehicle. And this is very, very interesting. So it could be like a Skoda Octavia 2-liter TDI competitor in that case here. And this all at the price between 40, 45, 46,000 euros. The concise prices will come in the next days when we shoot this video here. But I think it becomes quite clear that they offer a lot for the money. But then again, you don't get everything. And I also have to work on the software updates and so on. At this moment, the software status is not that I would say it's really cool from these beeping sounds and so on. But BYD says they constantly update the software. We've seen it with other vehicles. that this is also improved and even more adapted to the German market. What do you think? Do you think they have a chance on the German market? I think it's a very interesting proposal. They have to work on the details, but they're doing it actually, and then maybe in a couple of weeks with more software status and so on, they will be even more up to date, and price-wise, definitely already competitive right now. And the range concept, if you don't want like a performance engine and say like, want to drive efficient and I want to have maximum range, yeah, then you already got a very interesting proposal where other manufacturers will come much later with this kind of engine concept. What do you think? Tell me in the comments. Now we have more BYD reviews for you as well.